Hey guys, welcome to M&MM IELTS. Today's video is related to your speaking topic, your speaking section in your IELTS exam. So I have a few phrases, useful phrases I would say, that I want to share, and if you use them while doing your speaking exam in front of your examiner, or even while practicing, so that becomes your habit, it will be very helpful for you to convey your message in an easy way, which is understandable by the examiner, and you won't struggle a lot to share what you want to share, provided you use these useful phrases when they are relevant, when you should be using them, and not just for the sake of using them. So let us see what those useful phrases are. So the very first one is apparently. This is very commonly used, but if you are someone who has not used this phrase a lot or this word a lot, you can use apparently. So apparently is used when you are not 100% sure of what you're saying is right or wrong, because you might have heard that information from somewhere, but it's just that you haven't experienced it yourself. So let's say you talk about a place. For example, you talk about food from some place. So let's say North India. So you say that I've heard that the food in North India is very spicy, but apparently there are places which give mild food as well. Now you've said that apparently there are some places which give mild food as well. That apparently is because you're not 100% sure of it. You may have heard it from somewhere. That is a piece of information that you've got from somewhere, but you're not sure. So when you're not sure, you can say apparently and express your opinion or express the information that you want to share. The next is first and foremost. Again, something which I encourage students to use a lot. So when you have a list of some bullet points that you want to share, and there is one that is the most important according to you, then you can start expressing or sharing about that bullet point using first and foremost. For example, if you're talking about culture of your country, all right, and the most important part of your culture is, let's say for example, food, and then if you want to explain food first, which is the most important part, you can be like, first and foremost, food is an integral part of our culture. So the way you start by using first and foremost is an indication that this is very important amongst the list that you have. Next is I guess. Now I guess itself is very clear that you're guessing, as in you're not 100% sure. You don't have a very strong concrete opinion on what you're saying, but you are still sharing it. So when you don't have a very strong opinion, you can start by saying I guess. The next is I'm not really into, which means when you're not a fan of something, or you're not very interested or inclined towards something very specific, you don't have a lot of interest in that thing. Can be any sports or any activity, any art. Let's say you're talking about painting, but you are someone who is not too inclined towards painting or doesn't hold a lot of interest towards painting. You can start by saying I'm not really into painting, but, and that's how you can continue your answer. Next is I suppose, which is exactly same as I guess. It is like it's a synonym, I would say. So if you ever want to say it again, instead of repeating the word I guess, you can say I suppose, because repeating the same word again and again is not something I encourage a lot. Rather, you can use something similar but which is a little different. So which means I suppose, again, you don't hold a very strong opinion about something, but you're still sharing it. Next is very common, I would say, on the other hand, when you want to share anything that is contradictory. So first you've shared idea A, and if you have another idea, let's say idea B, which is opposite or which is something exactly different, I would say, from idea A, then you start by saying on the other hand. Let's say for example, if they talk about night and day, which life do you prefer? Do you prefer the day life or you prefer the night life? So let's say you describe the day life first, and then you say on the other hand, there are advantages of night life as well, as you go to the city and you see beautiful lights all around you that just make the city very pretty. So you're sharing one thing and then you want to share something opposite. You can start by saying on the other hand when you share the opposite idea. Next is that's a tough one. Again, a very clear indication that's a tough one means when you are struggling to begin your answer. Maybe something that is the question that has been asked to you, you really are confused, or you really are not able to decide what should be my stand on it. For example, let's say they start talking about pets and they ask you to describe about pets. Now you're someone who likes dogs and cats both, and you have to select one of them, if you have to keep one of them, or if you wish to select one of them, then it's a tough choice, because if you have a dog and if you have a cat, you have two pets, and when you have to select one out of your two pets, that's literally like selecting one child out of your two children, right? So how would you start in such a situation? You can be like, right, that's a tough one, and then you can start your answer, which shows that it's okay sometimes to have a tough situation. It's okay sometimes to have tough options, and selecting one of them is a real challenge for you. It is okay to express that. There's nothing wrong in it. The next is, what else can I say? Now this is like a phrase that can be used to cover your silent moment when you're thinking while answering, because you're not a robot. Sometimes you might be thinking as you answer. You don't always have an answer ready in your brain, but sometimes while you're talking, while you're expressing what you are expressing, you may need a couple of microseconds to think about what you want to say next. So in those few seconds, instead of being silent and having that uncomfortable pin drop silence in the room because you're thinking something, I would rather think by saying, what else can I say? And you're saying that you're not absolutely silent and you're thinking as well. That's a good way of presenting your answer. Next is, in a nutshell. You might have used this while writing summaries in different exams that you might have given. So when you want to summarize your answer at the end, using in a nutshell is a good way to summarize your entire idea or your entire answer. Next is, on top of that. On top of that is used as a phrase when you want to add some information into your answer that you're already saying or you're already sharing. So let's say you talk about, for example, the colors, and you're talking about the festivals in your country and how colors are related to the festivals. So you start by describing one, and then you want to add more information to it. So you can say, on top of that, I would say that colors hold a significant role in expressing our emotions and feelings, and we wear colorful dresses and eat colorful sweets while we have our festivals like XYZ. Whatever festivals you like, you can start sharing about them. So when you want to add more information to your answer, you can start by using phrase like, on top of that. Let me share an example. Again, very straightforward, very easy, but it's good to put it in practice while speaking, because let me share an example is not something you would type while writing anything. It can be your essay or any writing part, but while speaking, it is okay to say, let me share an example. So for example, let's say you're talking about your trip that you might have had in the past. The question is related to your best overseas trip that you've had so far, and then you start your answer by the date, who did you go with, where did you go, when did you go, why did you like that trip, and then you can express your examples as in some reasons that made that trip memorable for you. So let me share an example. That why my trip to Paris was a trip that I can never forget, and I cherish the memories for the rest of my life, because it was the first overseas trip that I went with my family, something like that. So when you share an example, it shows that you're supporting your idea, and it's good to start with, let me share an example. And lastly, I want to cover lastly. So lastly means when you want to end something, which is like a conclusion. So in a conclusion is very commonly used these days. So something different, I would say you can end your talk, you can end your conversation by saying, and lastly, I would like to say, and then you can end whatever you are saying, your answer, your idea, right? So these are few phrases, words that I personally like a lot because I feel they make my job easy and it becomes a very natural conversation with the examiner. And in a very natural way, I'm sharing my ideas and my answers. So do try and use these phrases. And if you feel that there is any phrase that you like a lot, you can always put that in the comment section so that other students can learn from each other as well. And with that, I'll take your leave. And if there's anything that you want us to cover regarding IELTS, please put that in the comment section below. God bless all of you and practice hard.